What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to Veve Vibes, where I love talking all things Veve NFTs, speculation, and of course the market. So first thing I wanted to show you guys, and not just like humble brag or anything like that, and I think it's mostly just a learning lesson as well, is I got extremely fortunate, and I actually did getting the ultra rare Steamboat Willie on the drop. I have two phones, one got an uncommon, the other one got the ultra rare. So as we can see here, as we're scrolling down, that's the name, that's the Veve Vibes. It's at 5.5K. Right now. Actually, let's take a quick look to see where it's actually at. It's at 5.2 right now. People are heavily undercutting each other because Mickey was heavily pumped over the last like 12 hours since this video. As you can see, there was a point where it was at like 5.5, like 5.8 or so, and then just went all the way up to 6.5. And so it got pumped very heavily, and I think people right now are saying this is a good point to sell it off. So it's been dipping down a bit. Now, if you're one of those people that are very risky and you feel like you can time these kind of things, let's say you sold it for 6.3, now it's at 5.2, you could basically just flip it, make a few hundred gems for basically for free, but you have to be extremely good at timing the market of those kind of things. But yeah, so I think that is the absolute highlight of my 12 days of Veve so far. It's just obviously getting the ultra rare Steamboat Willie. The learning lesson was, I actually won it on my other phone. I traded it to my main phone is the one, my Veve Vibes account is the one I want to have all the gems on, all the NFTs, because I want to start collecting the master collector points on there for the most part, all in one account rather than splitting them between two different accounts. And yeah, like it's been awesome so far, and I've really loved the Steamboat Willie. I don't think anyone expected it to explode this much. Like I predicted that the common would peak at 350 shortly after the drop, like on the market. And people thought that was way too high. But I mean, during the drop, I mean, this isn't accurately showing it, but I do think some people said like it was peaking at like 700 or 800 gems. The common, then obviously it started taking a really hard nosedive. I ended up selling actually the uncommon for 688, which was an absolute deal back then. The only thing I kind of regret is basically not taking that 688 gems, waiting less than a day to basically pick it up at 240 or 260, and then picking up the common as well at 250. I could have bought both of those and still had some gems left over after I flipped this for 688. But as you can see now, these things have slowly basically been going up 100 gems like every 8 hours since the drop, with the biggest turn up being shortly after like either very early Christmas morning or Christmas Eve at night. It does seem like whenever there's huge moves, and this kind of happens in the cryptocurrency world as well, sometimes the biggest moves that happen within that 24-hour span is always sometime like really late at night, sometimes Australian time zone when there's like hardly anybody awake around the world. So yeah, this is pretty much what's going on now. There was a point where I was going to sell my Steamboat Willie, or Steamboat, yeah, my ultra rare at basically 3.7 because it did peak at like 4K, kind of like within the first few hours of the drop. I was considering doing that. I was like, you know, I'm going to sell it. It seems to be peaking at 4K. I don't think it's going to go much higher. I tried to sell it for 3.7, but the app wouldn't let me because I recently traded it and said it's not fully transitioned over. Something happened. Please try again later, and it wouldn't let me do it. I was kind of like just letting the people in the Discord at Veve just know like, hey, what's this error about? And they told me maybe it has something to do with like the recent migration over to Immutable X and like the layer 2 Ethereum chain stuff. I still don't fully understand that stuff, by the way, so like don't quote me on any of this, but long story short, if there has been some recent exchanged hands of NFTs, sometimes it will take a while for you to relist it. Although there have been stories of people basically either trading them or buying one off the market and then like relisting it 10 minutes later for a higher price and being able to do it immediately. So I'm not exactly sure what that's all about. But good thing I didn't sell it because now it's basically doubled the price. And again, it's peaked at 6.5. I think right now it's about 5.2, which is pretty cool. The other thing I wanted to cover, which was Groot. I don't think anyone expected it to do this badly. I think some people were obviously concerned by the extremely high mint numbers. I mean, there's 30,000 commons, 20,000 uncommons, and 10,000 rares. Was a little disappointed with the animation on the uncommon. The rare looked really cool. He was actually dancing and all that stuff, but I guess there's just so many additions. It was also kind of squeezed between a lot of really good stuff. I think a lot of people had their focus on Mickey. People were a bit more excited for the higher return that the stamps were going to give. That was going to happen shortly after this drop. So this one didn't perform very well. This one is still struggling to get, or at least as of right now, above 30 gems, which the box price itself was 40 gems. So it's not too often it happens. It's not too often you get a Storm or a Valdo's Case or a Groot or anything like that where you actually end up losing gems by playing the drop. But it does happen sometimes, and unfortunately this happened to Groot. Though I do think personally that Groot will recover better than Storm and Zombie Captain America and Baldur's Case and all that stuff. So even though it doesn't look very good right now, I think holding on to it, just taking a 10 gen loss just isn't really worth it right now. Unless those 30 gems are going to help you get something like a Mickey and you're like literally that close to buying one, then sure. But other than that, I do think these are going to recover pretty well. It's just going to take a bit of time to mature for the most part. Another thing I wanted to mention is I do think that some of these Christmas drops that like people aren't seeing value in it now, and some people might not like some of the festive like NFTs. But who knows? I think some of these NFTs, I think it would be cool if Veve added a tag to some of these NFTs that basically said, hey, this is basically the first season that happened with Christmas. Because it could take 3 or 4 Christmases from now for basically these first festive NFTs to really start seeing their value, like the stamps and Groot and a few others as well. So it might take some time, but that's what I've noticed. I've played a lot of other games that have lasted a long time, and they tend to have these festive drops or hats or NFTs or kind of like virtual collectibles and stuff like that. And initially people didn't like them, but sometimes it just takes a while for it to mature. And then as more NFTs drop, people are going to start looking for more towards like the original, kind of the same thing as FAs for the most part. So I do think Groot, Deadpool, all that stuff, even though there could be an update in the future where you can take off the festive stuff, but I think just the fact that they do have some festive stuff available to put on might make them valuable as well. So something like that could take a bit of time. I'm going to quickly go over some of the top gainers as well as the top losers. I do have some videos planned in the future. I'm going to review the 11 drops that did happen for 12 Days of Veve, and I will probably also do a small review on which NFTs I think will actually do good on Immutable X. I know Veve Vision already did a very good video of that recently, but I think there's going to be some differences that I do think some NFTs would do a little bit better than others. So top gainers, obviously Steamboat Willie, both the common, uncommon, as well as the ultra rare are all basically taking some of the top spots. A lot of the Decon stuff is doing very well right now. I think a lot of people are shifting their attention now that they basically can't afford Mickey. 12 Days of Veve are basically over. I think a lot of people are shifting their attention over to the Decon NFTs, because basically when Immutable X comes out, even though like perfect example that I can think of right now is the ape friends. It's because I have it on top gainers. Like the little friends, like the silver one, I actually own 2 of these right now. And right now they're only at 5 whatever, which is, I still think is pretty low. But the reason why they're this low is because there's nearly 100 of them on the market. But if we switch to Immutable X, or now we can start listing these on Immutable X, not everyone's going to switch their NFTs off platform. Some people want to do it for security reasons or whatever the actual like reason is. But let's say we go to Immutable X and there's only like 5 or 10 of these on market. There's only 5 or 10 little friends silvers on market. Who knows? Someone might pay $1/4 of an ETH, half an ETH for some of these things, which is roughly equivalent to like $1,000 or $2,000. So I do think a lot of the Decon stuff will actually do better off platform than actually on platform for the most part. So that's kind of a sneak peek about kind of my opinion on what's going to happen with my video that I'm going to be talking about Immutable X. But biggest losers, no surprise. I do think it's the stamps. It's some of the other Decon stuff. The lab bets, I'm surprised this actually went down so much. Maybe it's because it's a bit of overcorrection, and these are people that are just flipping, but people were really hyped about the lab bets because you could breed them and all that stuff, but it's still going to be a full year. As far as I know, it's not going to happen to like late 2022, but that's just what, forgot the person's name that makes the lab bets, but he did say it might happen late 2022, but again, that's still a long way off, and there's a lot of opportunity to be had. But so far, all the stamps have been going down. I did not think that they were going to do as well as Day of the Dead, but again, I do think people are more looking forward to just the very good flipping potential of like the stamps, because I mean, you invest 6 gems, you get 40 gems. That's a pretty good flip for the most part, even as like a very, very low tier or a very low investment person on Veve. So snow globes are going down. So I think the next, of course, there's the air that's gonna happen with this. So yeah, we'll go ahead and turn that off for now. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I do have a couple more videos planned out over the next few days, but it's just going to take me some time because I'm traveling, seeing friends, family, and all that kind of stuff. And obviously you can tell this is not my usual setting, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys take care, and I'll see you on the flip side.